Okay, well, if it's one person a month, 12 times a year, $250,000. 4 times a month, $1 million. That's a lot of money.
For those of you that have a lower average fee, 10 grand a month, it's 120 grand a year for one case a month. So when I tell you you're losing cases, I know we lost cases for a long time because we either put people on hold, our receptionist answered, we made lots of stupid mistakes over the years. And you'll see some things we do now that are making us millions of dollars simply by adding technology in the call center, like automatic callbacks. So, take notes, call me, figure out how to add the technology if you don't have it. It's no longer acceptable not to have the technology. That's why I'm redoing this, to really make sure we all understand what we should be doing in our firm. So it's fantastic that you're all paying super attention to the AI and how to improve your marketing using AI and SEO. But if you don't answer the phone correctly when it rings, you're wasting all the time and energy and effort you're putting into the marketing because you're not converting on every dollar. So how much more money do you spend on marketing and how much more money are you going to lose on intake? This is important, just as important as any other part of your firm. The only other thing I'll say before I start is where we started. The blind spots and the biases, right? The report cards I gave you are real. Right? So when you read that report card and some of you have zero chase process, imagine that. I called your firm, you couldn't sign me, and then you never called me back. Like zero. Not a phone call, not a text message, not an email. What the hell is that? Like that's a guaranteed loss of income. Like if that happened in my firm, I would rip Jeff's throat out. Like, that's just not okay. That's real. What I gave you is real. So if you're looking at your report card and that happened at your firm, I promise you, we spent a lot of time doing those report cards. I reviewed them. I made Chrissy correct calls, recall firms because I didn't like the way it looked. In Chip's firm, it's different because they do property damage. I made her call them like 4 times. Said, nope, I don't like the way you asked that question. I'm not sure how to tell you to ask it. Let's call again. And we gathered more data. Let's call again and we gathered more data. We made sure we did it right. What's in those report cards is real. Now the rest of you, I know how to call your firm because you're personal injury law firms, you're like me. I didn't exactly know how to call Chip's firm, but we made sure we got it right. I can tell you what's in the report card is right. It's real. So if you have a blind spot or a bias, it's bullshit. What's in that report card really happened. I made sure of it. I read every one of your report cards. I made her fix things, change things. So take notes, pay attention, and we need to make changes. Because we're going to do this again, right? And next time you want, right, as much as I'm frustrated because I want you guys to be great at this, right? You want to be great at this because you are losing money when you're putting people on hold, you're not chasing them, you're not calling them back. Or if Chrissy wrote on your report card, zero empathy. Chrissy is a very sweet person, and I know she didn't want to write that, but she wrote it on some of your report cards. If she wrote zero empathy, imagine having a serious case, calling a law firm, and the person on the phone was just an asshole. She was short, she was abrupt. I saw words like that. You're never going to sign that case. And then on top of it, you don't call them and chase them. There's no way, it's not going to happen. So we need to make changes. All right? Okay, so let's rock and roll. So we're going to cover integration of systems, delivering the call, use of a queue, auto callback, how to convert, the chase process, sales team, analytics, and KPIs. So automatic routing. Not all of you have a CRM. You all have a phone system and you all have a case management system. Some of you have a CRM sitting on top of your case management system. So if you have like FileVine and Lead Docket would be the CRM, right? So this means we're going to connect the phone system First, it goes to the CRM tool, so lead docket, if you have lead docket, and then it data dips into the case management system. So why do we do this? Number one, single point of contact. When the phone rings, you want to answer the phone and never put the person on hold and never transfer them. Two, well, never place a new client on hold. Three, have the right person talking to the right person, right? So for instance, for us, we do social, VA, and PI. They're not all trained in our call center to do all three. So if someone's coming in on a social call and I can identify it as a social call because of a DID number or a UTM code, it directs to the social person. We also correct to make sure it's the best person. Best chance of creating the conversion to lead for the case. So how do we connect the systems? So the first thing that you're bringing into the office when the phone rings is what? The caller ID. Right? Everybody's got caller ID. If they're dialing an 800 number, they can't block their number. It can't be private. You're welcome to take pictures of this if you want, but you can have the entire presentation, just like our prior speakers. Obviously, I share anything. So at the end, there's an email address, and I think it goes to Chrissy, and she'll send you whatever you want. So the caller ID comes in. The phone rings. What happens? Instantaneously, it scrubs your system. Now, if you have lead docket, the only thing in lead docket is every call, but it doesn't really say what the status is if you accepted the call. So first it'll look at lead docket. If the number is not in lead docket, the CRM tool, then it knows it's a new client, right? Because it didn't get registered there. If it's in lead docket, then it's going to have to go to your case management system to see. If you don't have, anybody here have a CRM like a lead docket? Okay, so this is important. It has to go to both. It goes to the lead docket, and then it goes to the case management system. If you don't have the CRM, it goes right to the case management system. So it looks at your data, and it says, here's my caller ID. Do I have a match in the case management system? So we have three options. Option number one, it's a vendor. It's the insurance adjuster. It's a doctor. It's an auto body shop. So that's a commercial business. My recommendation is that can go to an IVR. They're a commercial business, they're used to getting a machine, they know who they want to talk to. Why tie up any human being in your law firm? Thanks for calling Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. If you know the extension of the person you're looking for, dial it now. Press 1 for a dial by name directory, or press 0 to speak to a human being, right? So that takes care of all of your commercial business, and that call is going to get routed automatically to where it needs to go. If it's a customer, an existing client, it's going to look at the status of that customer's case. You build it so it's set for the status if you want the call to go to different people. So if it's in medical management and you want it to go to the case manager, it sees it's a client, here's the status, and it automatically delivers the call to the case manager. Your case managers should have a recorded voicemail that you have decided is acceptable for your firm, right? So everybody can't just do their own thing. So if you believe in call blocking, the voicemail should say, thanks for calling Susie at Rob Levine's. I'm sorry I'm helping another customer right now. I return all calls twice a day between 11 and 12 and 3 and 4. So the person leaving a message, your customer, has an expectation of when their call is going to get returned. If you need immediate assistance, press 0, then that goes to reception, and reception will track her down or give her to somebody else. If the number doesn't exist, then it goes to intake. So we assume the number is not in our system, therefore it must be a new customer. Their phone call goes directly to intake. Intake is a closed unit, right? We don't overflow to other paralegals in the office. We don't outbound to a call center to cover it. Comes into intake, stays in intake.
What if it's effectively like a former client?
So yeah, so that's a closed case. So if it's a customer and the number is there, the part of that status workflow where I said the status is going to tell it where to go. So in our firm, status closed over 30 days, that's going to go to intake. Under 30 days, we're assuming they're calling about their check or something financial or some other issue. Once it's over 30 days, then it's going to go to intake. So in addition to that, so we've grabbed our caller ID, we're going to grab the DID number. And the point of the DID number, right, number one, is attribution, even though John was saying, don't kill yourself over attribution. So I agree you don't want to kill yourself, but I don't agree that you shouldn't be tracking attribution. So the DID number is going to give you attribution from anything that you can track, right? So if you're doing a pay-per-click ad, an LSA ad, something in Facebook or anywhere else that you put a specific phone number, then it's going to track that number coming in. So that's the first point of the DID number, is giving yourself attribution. Obviously, you can use UTM codes for attribution as well. The second point of the DID number is what I was saying about where you want the call to go. So for your office, as an example, you only do PI, but let's say it's big truck. And so let's say you really want somebody who's really well-versed, who's the best in your firm to handle an 18-wheeler case. And let's say you're running advertising for an 18-wheeler case, and you're using a DID number for the 18-wheeler case. You could make sure when that call comes in that that call goes specifically to the next available agent that you've scored, right? So you can score people in two ways. One is what they're capable of handling. So for us, we say these people can only handle social, these people can only handle VA, these people can only handle PI, and this group can handle anything, because we have a group that can handle no matter where it comes from, they handle it. Because if you dial my regular phone number, Rob Wins, that's on TV and on billboards, then obviously I don't know what it is. It could be any three of the things we advertise for, so that goes to someone who can handle anything. If I know it's a social case, then we direct it to social. Does that make sense? Okay, so how people are going to contact you. So everything we just talked about is an inbound phone call, right? But for most of us here, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't have all three. Someone can contact you by an inbound call. They can do a form fill on your website, or they can chat and text with you. Is there anyone here that doesn't offer all three? Okay, so the highlighted part in pink treats all three with the same sense of urgency. If you chose, which you all did, to allow your client to reach out to you by any one of those things, then you have to be able to treat them the same as an inbound phone call. I can tell you, looking at your report cards, a lot of you are not treating them the same. Your form fills, some of you didn't even get a response to the form fill. Like somebody filled out, I have a case, I'm injured, I need help, and you didn't even follow up with them. How quickly do you expect to answer a phone call? It's immediate, right? Phone rings, you answer it. Well, a form fill comes in, so you want to set it up so it gets ingested into your system. So in our office, the form fill comes in, it goes into Smart Advocate, Smart Advocate spins it up, delivers it to the front, and then the front gets picked up by Ring Central, which delivers it to the next agent. So it's really, from the perspective of the call center agents, there's no difference between a form fill and a phone call. It's getting delivered to them by the system automatically next in line. It takes, I think, 60 to 90 seconds, right? So the time for it to come into Smart Advocate to extract the data, fill out the form in the wizard, then delivers it to the front of the system, and I think Ring Central comes by every 30 seconds and picks up the next thing every 30 seconds and then gives it to the next agent. No reason why everybody shouldn't be ingesting exterior data into their system and then giving it to their phone call. If you're getting form fills, which is, I'm going to assume, what's happening into Outlook, it's lost. Because if I'm supposed to be looking at Outlook and supposed to be in a case management system and supposed to be talking to clients, my Outlook gets buried quick. Because what else comes into Outlook? Every crazy email that you send to them, right? Along with all the spam. So immediately a form fill comes into Outlook and is buried within seconds. And then buried further, and then buried further, and then before you know it, they don't even see it. So that has to go into your system. Chat and text. So what we used to do when someone would want to text us or chat with us, right, through a service, we would try to convert the chat into a phone call. So the person who answered the phone, we don't do chat internally. Does anyone do chat internally? Henry does. Other than Henry, we're all doing it externally. So if we're chatting with someone, and this goes for you too, what you don't want to do is say to the person, hey, we have someone standing by right now, they could talk to you on the phone. Would you like to talk to someone? We used to do that. We thought, oh, that's good service. We'll get them on the phone. Well, they chose to chat with you. And one day I got a hair across my ass and I said, I want to look at the data from how many texts we're getting, how many cases we're signing, and how many cases we're losing. So they sent over the data and I looked at it and I said, okay, how many cases that we're trying to transfer from them to us are lost and disconnected? And that's when I realized, holy shit, we're losing half of the calls that we were sending from our chat company to our law firm to talk to people. People were hanging up. So the chat company would call the person, call our firm, and think they were connected, and then the person would hang up and there'd be nobody there. Why? They don't want to talk on the phone. That's why they chatted with you in the first place. So we changed that policy, and we literally have cases we never talk to. And I don't mean just in intake, I mean from day one to the end. So when we're doing the intake and chat, we'll say to the person, once they're transferred to our office, right? So they're with the chat company, they come to us, now their case is being opened. What is your preferred form of communication? If that person says chat, we never talk to them. Like, I'll run your case from start to finish and only chat with them. We don't call them, we don't email them. That's how they like to live. There's a lot of people, I look at kids when I go to a restaurant now. How many watch kids sitting at a table and they're literally texting each other across the table? Parents are sitting there talking and the kids are having a texting conversation. They don't even talk, they're just texting. Now my kid did that, that would not work. But lots of parents allow it. Why? Because it's entertaining the kids. So the kids don't talk, don't interrupt the parents are having a good time, it's their night out, and the kids are having fun together texting. So if someone wants to chat with you, stick with the chat. All right, so delivering the call to the best person, scoring. So that's different than skill. So you have skill set, which is whether, let's say for Michael's office, you wanted to deliver it to someone who's a trucking expert, right? Or my office, 3 different verticals, whatever your office is that you decide if you have people trained on different skills. Then it's who's the best intake person in the team, right? So you can make this as narrow focused as you want and really score people very carefully, or do more general settings. I think we have 3 levels, right? 3 levels. So we have 3 levels that we grade you. You suck, you're average, or you're great. And so, just kidding. So if you're rated as great and the call comes in, I don't round robin, I don't believe in round robining, right? I believe in survival of the fittest. Our intake people work on base plus commission. If you're great, you get as many calls as I can give you. So if no one's on the phone, you can be guaranteed that if they have the skill set matches, also language, right? So if the call comes in and we know it's a Hispanic speaking client, it's going to go to someone who has a skill setting of being able to speak Spanish. Now for us, that's almost everybody, but back in the day, it wasn't everybody. So that's another thing you can skill set for, is what language based on where the call is coming from, right? So if you're doing Hispanic advertising, right, and you assign a DID number to that, then you can make sure that when that call comes in, it goes to somebody who speaks Spanish. So in addition to the skill set, so we rate them based on their wanted and conversion ratio, based on their speed to answer the phone, based on how long they take to sign people, based on a number of different factors. And whatever their score is, the better the score, the more calls they get based on their availability. Why? Because I want to convert as many calls as I can, right? If I lose a call because you weren't good enough to sign it, right, then I lose my average fee. If you can't convert, then it's out the window. Right? So give it to your best person. Obviously, you want all your people to be great. That's just not reality, right? That's just not the way life works, right? We live on a bell curve. You have good people, you have great people. Use of a queue. So I described in the beginning, when the call comes in, our intake center is locked. We've tried different things over many, many years. How many people let their call center calls overflow into their office? So let's say a paralegal answers the phone when the person, so 1, anybody else? 2, all right, so hands are going up. So Joe didn't show up, but Joe showed a video once where you have one guy come out and start dancing crazy on the hill, and then all of a sudden a second person comes out and a fourth, and then you have a mob of people dancing. Has anybody seen that? I've noticed when I speak, it's the same thing. If nobody raises their hand, you can't get one. As soon as one person, thank you for raising your hand, volunteers to be first, then it goes 2, 3, 4, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, I'll admit it. So I can't help if you don't answer or you don't participate, right? I'm not, whatever, you do what you do. That's why we're not going over your report cards, because I don't want to embarrass anybody. I'm not showing scores. Your card is yours. It's private. No one else has seen it. If you want to talk about it privately, we can. So we've made that mistake, right? And that's a mistake if you're letting it overflow. The first problem is that it overflows, depending on how you have it set up, to a group. So let's say you have 6 available paralegals. It rings to 6 phones at the same time. What do you think all 6 do? They're like this. I'm busy, someone else will get it. And the phone keeps ringing. Or it's on a round robin. So it rings to the first desk. And that person is supposed to answer it, but guess what? She got up and went to the bathroom, which we used to do in our intake center. So we used to not let them have control, and the phone would automatically ring into their headset, and they would just have to answer the phone. The problem we found is they get up and go to the bathroom and forget to put that they're either on lunch or at the bathroom or taking a break, and it would ring in their headset. Then it would ring, ring, ring. The system would realize, oh, nobody's there, and then it would go to the next person. Same thing's happening with your overflow with your paralegals. Do not allow it to overflow to your paralegal. There's no good way to do it. We've tried it every possible way. It doesn't work. The last thing you want to do is who lets it overflow to a call center? I mean, yes, a professional call center, an answering service. That's just as bad, right? So it rings in your office. Remember, the phone rang. You're the customer. Ring 1-1000. Ring 2-1000. Ring 3-1000. Ring 4-1000. Now it transfers to the outside agency. Ring 6-1000. How long do you think they're going to sit on hold? Did you see in some of your report cards how long somebody waited for the phone to get picked up? So people hang up. They're like, oh, screw this, I'll call somebody else. So if everybody's not available, go into a voicemail that says, hi, thanks for calling Dewey, Cheatham and Howe. I'm sorry that we're on the phone with our customers right now. Your call is important to us, right? Our expected wait time is whatever. And you know what your average wait time is. You should be able to look up in your system, how long is the average wait time? Our average wait time is, what is it now? 18 seconds, our average wait time if you hit the queue. So our average wait time is 20 seconds and we'll be with you. So whatever it is, be honest, be transparent, and tell them. Those people are going to wait because you were honest and you told them. And if they don't wait, then you're going to see what we do, which is the automatic callback. You can also, by using a queue, by the way, is prioritize calls. So for me, we have personal injury and veterans disability, value, and then I have Social Security disability, far less value. And so if I have a Social Security disability case that's in the queue and then a personal injury case that comes in behind it, I'm going to jump the Social Security case and take that call first and make the Social Security person wait. Why? Because this has way more value. If you have a trucking case that came in that you knew was a trucking case and you have a regular PI case, you're going to jump and take the trucking case first. So it's another advantage of using the queue. This is the auto callback system. Write this down. So you have RingCentral and you went to them direct. Do you have this? Yeah. So this number is what we were saving years ago with less volume than we have now. What does this mean? This means that people called our office and we took longer than 15 seconds to answer the phone. 15 seconds is an average of 2 rings. The time that from when they dial the number to it ringing twice, because there's time in between. You don't realize that, right? They hang up before they talk to a human being. So in a 10-month period, we dropped 2,300 calls. That's before they talked to a person. They hung up, but it was over 15 seconds. If you do research in ChatGPT, when should I be calling back? Most call center statistics that you'll read will say 20 seconds. We decided 15. You don't want to call someone back at 5 seconds because they didn't really want to talk to you in the first place. It was a wrong dial, whatever. So 15 seconds. We called every one of them back. Our system automatically recognizes the phone number. It saw they never talked to a person, the call lasted longer than 15 seconds, and they hung up. Our system immediately calls them back and delivers it to the next available agent. And we most likely have an agent. Jeff just told you it's like 18 seconds is the average wait time. So we call them back and it automatically goes to the next agent. The next agent knows and says, oh, Mr. Smith, if the name comes up, I'm sorry that we missed your call. I see that we got disconnected. I'm very sorry about that. How can I help you? Of those 2,300 calls, we signed 688 cases. 688, that's our average when you include social, VA, and PI. That's how much money we would have lost in 10 fucking months without calling people back. Who has an auto callback system?
It's not an auto dialer, but it's a script that pings Teams and then next one out calls it back, and we get a lot of cases signed.
Anthony, you do? No. It's being implemented. Okay, so one has somewhat of a system that they're fully developing. The rest of you have people who are hanging up and you're losing them as customers. Now, this is massive volume, obviously, and we do more volume, so that's not your number. But who cares what your, yes, Mez? Go ahead.
Right, so I'm like I'm illiterate when it comes to this. We just use CallRail that goes 15 seconds, it records a hang up, and then our team is supposed to call that person back. They're not doing that, obviously. Is this what you were talking about earlier, that Ring Central?
Yes, this is through Ring Central, so it's automated. The Ring Central system recognizes that the call came in, recognizes that they never spoke to a person, and that they hung up, and the time from when it came in to hanging up was greater than 15 seconds, and then it automatically calls the number back that you pulled in by caller ID, and then delivers it to the next available intake agent. Make sense? Yeah. No. Go ahead, Adam.
And what's this cost you on average?
That's cheap. I think that cost us like $3,500. You can get our build. That's not a Stephanie. You don't need Stephanie for that. That's not has nothing to do with your case management system. That's 100% in Ring Central. You just need them to pull up our build. So they struggle for some reason, right? But so if you call, Jeff can help you get assigned to the right person. Everybody met Jeff, right? Has anybody not been in his room as a subject matter expert? Jeff, stand up. So when you go into our subject matter expert room for intake, that's Jeff. So Jeff can help you with that, right? So you could just set it up so it's just in the sequence of the next return call. It's not going to auto dial them, right? So Ring Central is going to recognize it, deliver it as the next call. It wouldn't auto dial in my office either if no one was available. So it's going to give it to the next available person, and that person is going to have to say dial. And so they hit the button to call the next available person. We would never call someone if we didn't have, like, so for instance, we talked about using a predictive dialer. So the predictive dialer is going to be calling high volume of people and leaving voicemails if they don't answer, like a robo dialer, right? But you have to assign people to be responsible for that, and then it predicts based on percentage of availability who's going to be available, when they're available, and calls based on that pattern. This isn't that. This is going to call you back and when someone's there to say answer. So this one is cheap, $3,000, whatever, $3,500 I think we paid to have it done in our office, and now we've put it in other people's offices. Who thinks that's not worth the money? So if you have a phone system that can do it, you should all be doing it. The other system, you said you just did it with Ring Central, cost you $25,000? Yeah. So $25,000, who thinks that's not worth the money? So take your average fee, and you only lose, let's say, only one case a month, that's it. So in 12 months, your average fee times 12, that's your loss. Subtract your expense of $25,000, what's your net? And then multiply that to however many years you're in practice. Who thinks that's not worth it? Anybody? Right. So next time I do ghost calls to your office, we're all going to work on our technology, right? Because we all just admit it's worth it. All right. So knowing how to convert. So we've now done technology. We've got the person on the phone. So you're spending whatever it is, 20, 25, 35% of your revenue on marketing. So every phone call counts. So goal number one, right? Anybody hear the marketing adage, one call, that's all, right? Same thing applies to your call center. The goal is to sign the person on the first call, right? Because I can guarantee you that if you don't sign them on the first call, whatever your percentage of wanted to sign ratio is on first call, whatever that percentage is, it's going to drop when you start chasing people, right? Once you start chasing people, 100% guaranteed it's not going to be the same. And for those of you who don't chase people, right, on your report card you don't call them back, you have a 0% chance of signing them. So whatever your wanted and signed ratio was, it went to 0. So that's the first thing you want to think of, right? So listening, compassion, empathy, build trust on the phone call, qualify them, send them the contract, have them sign it, have them send them back to you, right? Whole thing in one call. So wanted and signed ratio minimum standard. So my opinion is that your wanted and signed ratio should be 95%. Ken doesn't believe it's possible. Average firms, when people call us and they want us to do consulting for us, right? So people hire us, Jeff helps them, I help them, is probably between 70 and 80%. That's the average firm's wanted to sign ratio. How many people here don't know their wanted to sign ratio? 1, 2, 3, hands are going up, 4, 5, okay. So I can tell you, in our experience of talking to firms, the firms that don't know their wanted to sign ratio is generally even lower than firms as their average that know the wanted and signed ratio. So if you don't know it, I highly suggest you start tracking it. So in case anyone in the room doesn't know what that means, I'm going to explain it. It's simple. Yes, Neil?
Ours just went up yesterday because it turns out 2 of our wanted were ghost calls.
It's good to know. So, wanted and signed is simple concept. You actually talk to the person on the phone, you screened their case, your call center person said, this is a great case. They were rear-ended, they're injured, we want this case. That's a wanted case. Signed means you actually had them sign a contract and return it to you. So wanted and signed. Of the clients that you want, you should be signing 95% of them, in my opinion. Right? That makes sense, right? This is somebody's case I want. Therefore, clearly they should become my client. Okay, so this is the key when you know the case is wanted and you can't sign it. This is the reason you can't sign it. They had an objection and you couldn't overcome it, right? Because we already remember there's categories of why we lose cases. So our intake center is like a strainer and we're plugging the holes. So first of all, we didn't answer the phone. Secondly, we put them on hold and they hung up. They hung up before we answered the phone and we didn't call them back. All reasons we're losing cases, losing cases, losing cases. The next reason is we answered the phone and they stayed on the phone with us and we screened them and we said, oh, this is a good case, I want it. And then they said to your call center person, I don't really have time to do this right now. Or I don't have the money. Or I want to talk to my spouse first. Or I think I should call 3 law firms and talk to them before I make a decision. Whatever the objection is, if you haven't trained your intake person on how to handle the objection and they kind of screw it up, then you're not going to sign that case. And that's the biggest reason for wanted and signed dropping, is because you can't overcome objections. How many people have a list of the common objections and have trained your person to answer the phone on exactly what to say? So not a lot of people. So if you email info, whatever that says, at roblevinelegalsolutions.com and ask for our list of how to overcome objections, we will send it to you. But the list is useless unless you train and test your people on it. And if you want a copy of my presentation, just ask for the same thing in that email. if you can't convert on the first call, right? So the goal, one call, that's all, convert on the first call. If you cannot convert on the first call, we're chasing. So how many people have a chase process in place? All of you, okay? So I shouldn't say all of you. Well, some people didn't chase. Some people only chased on the first day. So how many people chase for a week? So some of you do, some of you don't. So we chase for 7 days. That's my recommendation. In your ghost calls, obviously we don't track you for 7 days. That would take us too long and way too much work. I think we tracked you for 3 days. The day of the accident and then 3 days, the day of the call and then 3 days after that. A lot of you only chased for 1 day. How many of you are chasing with different systems? Phone, text. I mean, we still have email listed on here. Personally, I think email is a waste at this point. I'm not sure why we still do it. So if you're injured and you want to hire a lawyer, what is the likelihood that after you reached out, because remember, this isn't someone that hasn't made a decision. They reached out, so they obviously want to hire a lawyer. We couldn't convert them. The likelihood that they go more than a week, right, is highly unlikely. Now, that doesn't mean they're not in a CRM tool, right, that's going to send them messaging, right, and stay on top of them, but we're not going to actively call them. And our last message, right, when we leave your last message is different than the rest. It's, you know, we don't want to be a pain in the ass. We're so sorry that you were injured. If you need anything from us, we're always here for you, but we won't follow up with you after that. That also gets some people to call because they're like, oh shit, I really should hire someone. So very simple, that's our chase process. For social and VA, different, but for PI, it's 7 days.
Hey, got a question.
Yes.
How do you, through I guess your CRM, how do you know that your team's actually doing that?
So it's automated, like they don't do it, it's given to them. So when I explain to you that a form fill comes into Smart Advocate, so we use Smart Advocate, but this will work with any case management system or like a lead docket. So when I explain to you that a form fill comes in and gets built in Smart Advocate, right? And so then it gets delivered to the front of the system, and then I told you Ring Central comes by every 30 seconds, grabs the next call, right? And then pulls that call, and then Ring Central is going to deliver it. Well, the same thing goes for the chase. So we have all sorts of different calls that have to be made. New calls coming in, right? Then we have the form fills coming in. Then we have the follow-up calls. So if there's the follow-up call is due to be made in the morning today, it's going to be in Smart Advocate. It's going to pull that information because they're in a status of a wanted case that we're chasing, and we're on day 2, and we have to make our phone call. Smart Advocate's going to pull the data, deliver it to the front of the system. Ring Central is going to swing by, grab it, and then deliver it to the next available agent who hits dial, has the screen pop, and off they go. They don't have a choice. So we used to, back in the day, allow people to have a list and they could pull calls and they were pulling calls. What the term you heard Jeff use is cherry pick, right? So they would be cherry picking which calls they wanted, and there would be calls that got ignored for a long period of time. We're like, this doesn't work. So now it's completely automated. You have zero control as an intake person over what call you get next. It just comes to you, you hit dial, and off it goes. Okay. So, sales team, who belongs in your intake center? They are not case managers, right? Case managers dot their I's, cross their T's, they're highly organized. They shouldn't be answering the phone. It's another reason we don't overflow from intake into case management, right? Because they're different mindsets. Our intake team are sales people. That is their mindset. Number one, they're driven by money, because they're on a commission basis. I want them to churn and burn. They understand that they have to turn calls, get to the next call. Still have empathy, still have compassion, listen and sign cases. If you don't put the right people in your intake center, you are not going to get to 95%. It's just not going to happen. They have to have that charisma, right? Make that friend on the phone. Make that person feel special. Listen to that person. That's different than a case manager. Case manager doesn't have that extra juice, right? That extra energy, that pizzazz that automatically makes, you ever just talk to somebody and you feel like, oh, this is a really cool person. You meet them and they start talking and you're like, wow, and they're like your best friend ever. That's what you want in your call center. If you don't have that person in your call center, you are not going to get to 95%. So did you ever notice that when you take a call, that person's busting everybody's chops in your office, and then you take it, it's different? Well, it's different for two reasons. One, you're the owner, and two, you just have that thing, right? That intangible thing that's very difficult to reproduce, right? So you have to find the right person to answer that phone so that they have that thing. I can guarantee you if I took one of my best case managers and then moved them into intake, they would not be my best intake person. They're two totally different dynamics, two different personalities. So select the right person. Commission is hugely important because you're now hiring salespeople, and salespeople are driven by money. So, yep.
Well, how do you recruit? How do you recruit salespeople?
I mean, like
Phones all day long.
Like any other position, you find people who are driven by money, have a background in sales, have a background in intake center, they've done it before, they know what they're looking for. It's just this part, like anything else that you interview, you have a criteria you're looking for, right? So you're looking for that criteria. I can tell you back in the day, right, when we hired people who were local and in our building, you could walk into like a Verizon store and hire someone like that, or walk into Nordstrom and hire a salesperson like that. So you'd find those people who were doing that job. But now we hire remote, and I hire international for intake. So it's more about the screening process. We're screening people on the phone. What is their background? Will we watch a video of a day in the life of what does it look like that they're getting into? Talk to them about what their goals are. They have to be driven by money. It's like any other interview process. So our commission process, I don't know if I have a slide on our commission. No. So our commission, obviously they all have a base pay, right? So you give them a base pay. And then 1 to 8 calls for us, right? That's how many we're looking for as the average, let's say, for how many calls somebody should sign in a week. The commission should be weekly, because if you have a bad week, right, it just resets and then you get yourself back on track and do great the next week. Originally when we did it, like I told you, right, learn from my mistakes, we used to do it monthly. And what we figured out was if you had 2 bad weeks and then you realize, shit, I'm never going to get to the point where I'm going to get the next level, people give up because what the hell, they don't have that same drive. So for us, we reset the commission every single week. It's that carrot dangling it and they're always driving for it. So 8 is the goal. They make $17, I think in 50 cents or $17 per call for up to 8 calls. If they get to the 9th call and sign 9, it's no longer 17 for all 8. It goes up to 20. So all 8 change and they get $3 more a call, including the 9th. Every call beyond 8 goes up $3. So the whole group, 1 through 8, 1 through 9, 1 through 10, 1 through 11, and that's what drives them. So I always get the question is, well, do you think people are going to just take garbage calls and they're going to make shit up? No, people don't do that. Right? So just we believe in our team, we trust our team, we train our team, and obviously every case we sign gets screened by the personal injury division anyway. So if somebody signed a total piece of shit, it's going to come back to them. The only thing that I ask if we're going to review a case with you and say, why did you sign this case? If you can give me a rational justification as why you thought it made sense to sign that case, good enough for me. I pay you whether we keep it or not, because I feel you're doing your job. So if they can say, well, based on that story, I thought, based on the intersection, if we could find video that would verify what they said, that case made sense, so it made sense to sign it. Good enough for me. So we don't let lawyers ever near our intake center, right? We're all trained to look for problems. That's our background, right? I don't want to look for problems. I want to look for reasons to sign this case. I want you to fight for cases. So we don't ever ask lawyers their opinion on our calls. You just sign the call. You think we should take it, you make the decision, you sign it. If somebody says overcoming an objection right at the beginning of the call, well, I really want to talk to a lawyer before I decide to hire your firm. What do? Anybody got an idea? You answer the phone. Mike says get a lawyer on the phone. Get more information. Set an appointment with a lawyer. We just talk over them. Of course we're going to let you talk to a lawyer, but before I do that, I just need to get a little bit more information and talk to you about your case. So you said you were in an accident. That's really horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. Are you okay? Oh, I was injured. My back really hurts. Oh, that's horrible. I had a back injury once. That's the worst thing to deal with. So tell me, where did the accident happen? And they just start talking. And that's it. By the time that call is over, they're your best friend, they signed the case, and they forgot that they even wanted to talk to a lawyer. If they still say they want to talk to a lawyer, say, oh my God, of course. So the next step is I'm going to live connect you. This is during the day. I'm going to live connect you to your case manager. She's going to do a full intake with you and explain everything, and then she's going to let you talk to the lawyer that's assigned to your case. Oh my God, thank you so much, Gene. I really appreciate that. We don't let lawyers in the call center. I wasn't kidding. Now, if they absolutely say, look, I'm not talking to you anymore unless I can talk to a lawyer, sure, I'll get a lawyer on the phone. Your chances of signing that case just dropped. Lawyers, if it's not me and not Mindy, lawyers just, that's not their nature, right? They don't have that personality. So if it's Mark, who's on social media all the time with jokes, he's got that personality. All of us do. But how many people, well, aside from Neil answered the phone when we called him after hours, so that's why he was so pissed off at me. I wanted that case so bad, I thought it was a real case. But for the rest of us, how many of you are actually answering the phone? Right, so that's not us, right? It's just the lawyer that works for us. They don't necessarily have the personality to screen a call and make that person feel good about it. You ask questions and you kind of probe the person. It's not a great way to go. Okay, so numbers are down. You're freaking out. So 2 problems, right? One of 2. Is it a marketing problem or is it a call center problem? You don't really know. You got to figure that out, right? So we step back and we look at our inbound call volume. So is our inbound call volume doing well, right? Or is our actual inbound call volume down, and therefore it's probably more of a marketing issue than it is a call center issue? Your inbound call volume could be consistent, but maybe we made a mistake in our advertising and we're getting too many property damage phone calls and not enough bodily injury calls. So our call volume is still up, and it's still not a call center problem. It's a marketing problem because we're attracting the wrong calls because we tried changing up our algorithm and doing some different things, and it's not working out so well. So before you call the call center manager, which Jeff has gotten these calls before, screaming, what the hell's going on in the call center? Figure out first if it's marketing before you scream at call center, and then scream at your marketing person. So we can talk about outbound reports and connected call reports. So obviously outbound is what it sounds like. We're calling from the call center out to the customer, right? So what's our contact ratio, percentage of leads that we're contacting? How many contacts attempts are we making, right? So we're looking at it by division, we're looking at it by sales rep. What is our same day contact ratio? Because remember, I said to you, right? Number 1 call, that's all. I want to sign you while I have you on the phone. If I can't, every day that goes by, my statistics decrease in the chances of converting that lead to a signed case. So the first day, the day of, is pretty important. I want to try to get you back on the phone. So you said to me, I need to talk to my spouse. Oh, I totally understand. Let's say you couldn't overcome that objection. What time does your spouse come home? He comes home at 4 o'clock. Okay, how about we set up a call for 5 o'clock tonight and we can get both you and your spouse on. Does that work for you? Sure, 5 o'clock's perfect. I will talk to you then. And you make sure you call that person back at 5 o'clock. Because if you don't sign them that day and you go to the next, it's decreasing, decreasing, decreasing. So, lead pull time, how quickly are we pulling leads and how quickly are we responding to them? Connected call reports, answer rate. What percentage of calls are we answering? Are case wanted? Are the reps picking the right cases? Case rejected. Are your reps denying the right cases? Conversion rate. How many intakes did your rep handle versus how many cases they signed? So they all work at different speeds, right? So one person is definitely a superstar, right? And she definitely churns cases much faster. She makes people feel special. She listens to them, but she really just knows how to move through cases. And so she signs way more cases than anybody else. Not because the system's necessarily giving her more calls. She's just ending and answering much faster. And her wanted and signed ratio is high. So she's a superstar, right? So when you're measuring your cost of your intake person, it's not just what is their wanted and signed ratio, it's what is their ratio, right? So how many calls are they actually taking and how many of those are they signing? And of course, not all that applies, right? So if you're not doing volume, then that's not necessarily as important. So yes, some of the things I say apply to us. So it's large volume. So if you're doing lower volume, then it's not as important. But the wanted to sign ratio, that is for sure, that is the most important number, period. You were first, then Adam. So first of all, there's no assigning cases in our office. Nobody ever owns a lead, period. And that's the only way to make the way our system would work is like it's just delivering. Because the last thing you want to do is try to deliver a call back to the right person. Imagine someone calls up and calls you back and says, oh, I'd like to speak to Katie. Oh, I'm sorry, she's on another call right now. Okay, well, can you tell her I called and have her call me when she's off? That's like kill, right? So notes are in the system. Anybody who gets the next call is going to follow up with that call. So it's whatever. Plus, they work different shifts, right? So we start at one time, and then they go home, and then other people come in. We're staffed at we're 55 people, right? So we have the highest peak window when most people are there, less in the morning, less at night. And so, no, nobody owns a call. We tried that. It didn't work.
Yeah, open 24 hours?
We used to be open, was that you, Lloyd? Yeah, so we used to be open 24 hours. Now we're not. We decided the overnight stuff is mostly garbage. We get very few calls overnight, although that might change now. So I've been thinking because now we're in Boston, right? So being in a big city, that might change for us. But where we were in Rhode Island, it didn't make sense. So we were there till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and we start at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then that window overnight, we were having, is it alert, right? So depending on so that's the hours that you should work, right? That was a personal bias. When we were 24 hours, I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to change. Like, it just makes sense for us to answer the phone. And finally, he convinced me, showing me the data. Like, we're not signing, we're not signing, we're not signing. It doesn't make sense. We're just pissing people off and burning them out, making those rotating shift and work overnight. And it made sense. When I looked at the numbers, finally, I gave in. But now that we're in Boston, I'm not so sure that's going to make sense any longer. So now that the volume is going up, I think we're probably going to end up going back to 24 hours. Just it's a different environment. So it depends for all of you, right? You just have to look at your data. When does the phone ring? How many calls come in? And how many are real cases? If you're getting cases overnight, then yeah, you should be staffing overnight. Alert does a good job, but they are not as good as we are internally. And Alert signs cases for us. So we use a fake fee agreement with Alert. So our fee agreement is, I don't know how many pages, a gazillion, right? So it has everything in it. And I don't need Alert trying to sign that. So we just have a very simple, plain, one-page contract. So when Alert talks to somebody, they can sign the person. That way the customer, the client, feels, oh my God, I have a lawyer, they're on my side. And the next morning when we call to introduce ourselves and do the full intake, we say, oh, we just have a few more pages we have to go over with you. And then we send them the full intake and we sign the full intake with them. So that's my recommendation if you're using somebody overnight.
What percentage you get signed up over the weekend?
If I had my phone, I could tell you. So this weekend, I think, this past weekend, we signed 4 or 5 on Saturday and like 3 PI cases. We don't get a lot on the weekend. So that's it. Any questions on reports, KPIs? So if you want anything, that's the email address. Happy to give you the whole slide presentation. We're happy to give you the overcoming objections report. I hope you had an amazing well, today's our second day. Our amazing second day today. Dinner at 7 o'clock. Everybody knows where they're going. And we'll see you there.